There is no light more illuminating than the stillness within. There is no bell more awakening than the honest breath of a soul longing to return. And there is nowhere else you need to go but into yourself. You are already here. And the journey begins, in this very moment. No elaborate preparation is needed. No rituals, no philosophies to recite. You simply sit. You simply become quiet. Not to achieve anything. Not to reach anywhere. But to arrive fully where you already are. When you sit with sincerity, you're stepping outside the ancient current of endless striving, a current that has swept humanity along for thousands of years. You're no longer pushed by the urge to become something, to prove something, to fix yourself. Instead, you return to the raw simplicity of your being, a human, breathing, alive, sitting in the middle of a changing world. The breath, something you've done thousands of times each day without noticing, becomes your boat, gently rowing you inward into a vast quiet space. In each inhale and exhale, you're not trying to control anything. You're simply witnessing. And through this presence, something beautiful happens, the noise fades. The stories in your head grow distant. The regrets, the fears, the striving, they melt into silence. From that silence, suffering begins to surface. But it no longer looks like an enemy. It arrives as a long-forgotten part of yourself, like a child left in the dark. A childhood wound. A forgotten hurt. A subtle fear. All these memories ask for only one thing, your presence. You, the meditator, no longer run from them. You welcome them. Not to analyze, not to fix, but to see. To hold them with the compassionate awareness of someone who finally stops denying what is. And in that moment, you understand. Suffering isn't something to conquer, it's a door to walk through. Only through meeting pain face to face do you come into contact with wisdom. Not the wisdom from books, but the wisdom that arises from silence, from being with what is. As minutes pass in quiet, life begins to reveal itself as a teacher. No one is giving you a lecture. But you are learning, from your own heartbeat, from the chaos that begins to settle. You start to notice something subtle yet powerful, everything changes. Emotions come and go. Thoughts arise and fade. The body shifts. The present moment is never still. Everything flows. This is impermanence, not as a concept, but as a living truth. And in recognizing impermanence, something inside softens. You begin to let go. Not the kind of letting go that means giving up, but the letting go that returns things to where they belong. Expectations. Identity. Old dreams that no longer serve. You release them, not with bitterness, but with clarity. And suddenly, you feel lighter. You're no longer gripping the world to feel secure. You're not trying to control every outcome. And in that release, you taste freedom. Peace doesn't come from gaining something new. Peace comes when you stop resisting what is. And in the stillness of this moment, you discover something miraculous. Life is happening right now. Not in the past, not in the future, but here. And that is more than enough. No doctrines are needed. No beliefs to cling to. Meditation doesn't take you somewhere, it brings you back. And when you truly return, you see you've never lost anything. The calm, the clarity, the contentment you sought, they were never outside you. They were only waiting to be seen. 1 hour in stillness, it may seem short, but it opens a door beyond time. You are no longer the person who sat down. No one needs to tell you, you can feel it. Something inside has shifted. You have seen for yourself. Peace was never far. It only hid in silence, waiting for you to stop. If this journey touched something deep inside you, then stay. Don't just pass through. Subscribe to the Dharma Journey, where content is not created to fill space, but to open space, so you can meet yourself. We don't promise instant transformation. But we promise to walk with you, as you find your way home. Because wherever stillness is, freedom is near. And where you sit, right now, is the beginning. It begins with a still and empty space. There are no teachings. No doctrines. No words to convince you. Only the wind moving gently. A soft bell in the distance. And the rhythm of your own breath, slowly becoming clearer. We are not going anywhere, we are simply stopping. And in that stillness, everything begins. When you sit, not to achieve, not to chase, but simply to stop, time softens its grip. There is no more rush. No more demands echoing in your mind. Only stillness, where the breath rises and falls like a silent tide between the shores of body and awareness. No one is calling you here. No one is guiding you. Yet something deep within knows this is where you need to be. This still place is not empty, it is full. Full of everything that has longed for your attention. In this stillness, you begin to hear what has always been drowned out, the sigh beneath your smile, the echo of your heartbeat, the soft voice of your soul that has waited so long to be heard. You don't need to be good at meditation. You don't need to know all the right terms. You only need to be still, and allow yourself to truly be here. No expectation. No performance. In this moment, you are not your roles. Not your success. Not your struggle. You are simply a living, breathing human, and that, in itself, is enough. You have stepped into sacred ground. Stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is space, and in that space, everything you've avoided begins to rise gently to the surface. But instead of threatening you, it asks only to be seen. A childhood fear. A wound from love. A self-judgment buried so deeply you forgot it was even there. All of these appear, not to harm, but to be held. You do not fight them. You do not fix them. You breathe with them. You sit beside them like an old friend, and you begin to understand, pain transforms not by resistance, but by presence. When you stay with your discomfort long enough, it softens. It opens. It becomes something else entirely. It becomes truth. It becomes wisdom. Not the kind of wisdom you can memorize or quote, but the kind that grows in the silence beneath your skin. The kind that only appears when you stop running and finally sit still. Stopping is not giving up. Stopping is seeing clearly. In this world, we've been trained to always move forward, toward accomplishment, toward status, toward some imagined future where we will finally be okay. But the faster we run, the more we lose ourselves. And eventually, we arrive at a place so far from home, we can't remember the way back. That's when we sit. That's when we stop. And in stopping, we discover something unexpected. Peace was never at the end of the road. It was waiting in the moment we chose to be here. All spiritual awakening begins in stillness. Not dramatic change. Not fireworks. Just stillness. In that stillness, the mind is no longer the commander, it becomes a witness. Emotions stop being enemies. They become signs, gentle indicators that guide us back within. We've walked too far from ourselves. Played too many roles. Spent too long becoming who the world wants us to be. And when we're finally exhausted, when nothing satisfies anymore, we sit. We return. Not to a place, but to the living presence we forgot was always here. Meditation doesn't give you something new. It takes away the noise, so you can remember what was never lost. Here, time softens. 1 minute in silence can stretch like a lifetime when you are truly present. And a lifetime can pass in a blur when you're living disconnected. In 1 hour of stillness, you don't gather information, you shed illusions. You don't become someone new. You become what's real, what's always been. You begin to see the breath not as a function of survival, but as a thread connecting you to the living, breathing universe. The breath becomes your anchor, and your invitation. Meditation promises nothing, and yet it gives you everything. It offers no reward, and yet in its silence, something begins to awaken: truth. The truth that all things are impermanent. That pain has a root. That roots can be seen and understood. That freedom is not granted by the world, it rises when you no longer cling to what binds you. Stillness does not strip you bare. It births you again. A new version of you, not shaped by fear or desire, but by clarity. The version of you that knows it's enough to sit, to breathe, and to witness life as it is. You, sitting here in silence, are the most sincere form of prayer: no words, no gestures, just presence. And that presence is sacred. Eventually, the bell rings. The hour ends. You open your eyes. Nothing has changed, yet everything has. There are no fireworks. No revelations. But deep inside, something is different. You are here. Not just in your body, but in your being. You've touched something timeless. And once you've touched it, you can never truly forget it again. Sometimes, one silent hour is enough to begin again. To remember. To return. If something inside you gently awakened during this hour, don't just move on. Stay. Let this stillness walk with you, not only when things are quiet, but even in chaos. Subscribe to the Dharma Journey. We're not here to chase trends. We're here to protect silence, so you can hear your own soul again. Because stillness is not empty. It is full of everything that is real. And when peace stops hiding, all of life becomes the path home. Suffering is not the enemy. It is a doorway that has never been opened. In stillness, we gently invite our wounds to step into the light, not to be erased, but to be embraced. When we no longer run from pain, it becomes the one who shows us the way. Because pain listens. And if you are quiet long enough, you will hear it breathing. That breath belongs to something once abandoned inside of you, a broken dream, an incomplete love. A part of your younger self that was silenced and never held. Pain doesn't break you. What breaks you is the way you turn away from it, over and over again. But when you stop turning away, when you open your heart like a mother welcoming home her troubled child, something changes. Beneath all the sharp edges, you begin to sense that pain has always been yearning, not for your strength, but for your presence. Your true, silent, unjudging presence. You stop asking why it came. You stop demanding it disappear. You simply sit, with kindness, with courage, and allow the pain to be what it is. And in that quiet permission, something beautiful begins to happen. It softens. Not because you've reasoned it away, but because you've touched it with compassion. We're often taught to manage our pain by staying tough, staying busy, or staying distracted. But no one ever healed by forgetting. Healing begins the moment we stop avoiding, and in stillness, all that was never heard begins to speak. You'll begin to understand, pain isn't something to eliminate. It's something sacred to witness. A part of the whole that wants to be included, not cast aside. We don't grow because life is easy. We grow through the cracks. Every breaking point lets in a little more light. And if you're gentle enough not to rush in and patch it up, that light begins to spread within you. You're no longer the victim. You become the witness. And from the place of witnessing, you're no longer trapped. You're no longer resisting. You're beginning to live. No one ever teaches us how to sit with sorrow like an old friend. But when you meditate, when you truly stop, all those lessons reveal themselves quietly, like wildflowers blooming when no one is watching. The less you try, the more you understand. The softer you become. The closer you are to the truth of your heart. There are sorrows that dissolve only when you stop asking them to go. There are wounds that begin to close only when you stop pretending they were never there. And there are parts of you, broken, forgotten, that are still waiting to be seen without judgment. To be held without shame, to be loved without fear. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be present. Like the sky never rejects the storm. Like the ocean never resists its waves. You, too, don't need to be anything other than who you are in this moment. And that, just that, is the most profound healing of all. A leaf falls. A sound flickers past. A memory stirs, and everything flows on. Impermanence is not a philosophy. It's not an idea. It is what's happening, every second. And when we stop holding on, the miracle begins, we become light. Like a drifting cloud. No longer attached to the idea of who we are or who we should be, we become transparent. Like dew resting on a leaf, we reflect all that passes without clinging to any of it. Emotions arrive, we smile. Emotions fade, we bow. We no longer chase joy, nor do we avoid sorrow. We stay, neither swept away nor grasping. And in that quiet staying, something profound opens. Life was never against us. It was only our restless mind that made it feel heavy. We begin to see clearly, nothing lasts. Not the sweetest moments, not the deepest pain. Everything arrives and departs like a passing breeze. And somehow, that becomes a gift. Because if all things pass, then we are free to let go. Each time we release something, space opens within us. Like a cup that has been emptied so it can welcome fresh water. We are no longer crowded by ourselves. When the soul is cleared of its clutter, it becomes still, like the surface of a lake before dawn. And in that stillness, a soft radiance begins to rise. Not a blinding light, but a quiet knowing, a gentle awareness of who we really are. And in that light, we remember, we've been rushing. We've been trying. We've been away from home for too long. Now, it's time to return. Not because life has broken us, but because our own heart longs for a place of rest. A place where we don't have to achieve. Where we don't need a reason to exist. A place where simply breathing is enough. In the moments we truly stop and observe what's unfolding inside us, the outer shell begins to crack. The thoughts we clung to, the identities we wore, the emotions we mistook as truth, all begin to drift, like clouds passing across the sky of the mind. We are no longer those clouds. We are the sky. Vast. Silent. Unshaken. And then, freedom appears. Not the kind the world gives. But the freedom that comes when we stop creating prisons in our own minds. Freedom from always becoming. Freedom from having to be better, faster, more. We are no longer competing. We are simply alive. In that state, the self doesn't need a name. There is no longer a question of, who am I? There is only presence. Deep, wordless, undeniable. And that presence, when fully felt, is what the ancient ones called nirvana in this very life. Not far away. Not after death. But here. In this breath. In this still moment. From here. Even the smallest action becomes sacred. You don't need to save the world. You just pour a cup of tea, and it is enough. You watch the sunset through the window, and your heart moves with it. No rush. No goal. Just life, and a gentle awareness of living. And the beauty is, anyone can walk this path. You don't need status. You don't need to know ancient words. You don't even need to know where to begin. You just need the courage to stop. The honesty to face what's inside. The willingness to shed what no longer fits, and let your heart be new again. We don't have to chase peace like it's a prize. We only have to clear the fog that hides it. Peace was never gone. It was simply hidden. Like the sun behind a passing cloud. Its light never left. It was only waiting for you to become still. And when the final moment of your meditation arrives, you don't need a lesson. You don't need to summarize anything. You simply ask, right now, am I truly alive? And if the answer is yes, that is enough. 1 hour has passed, not to change the world, but to quietly return to the world within. To the world that never asked for anything from you, except this. Be fully here. No more dialogue. No more questions. Just the quiet feeling of sitting in a place where time doesn't exist. The mind stops searching. The heart stops spinning. A smile arises, not from the lips, but from a knowing deep within, that you are alive, you are breathing, and you are here. There is no longer me meditating. There is only meditation, happening by itself. No longer me being still. There is just stillness, soaking into every cell of being. A presence without name. Without beginning or end. Just a pure current of life flowing through body and mind, breath moving in and out with no effort. Here, all definitions dissolve. Beliefs, knowledge, experience, all gently fall away like the last leaf of autumn. There is no need to know what is right or wrong. No need to dissect who you are in this vast universe. You simply stay with what is. A yawn. A breeze brushing your shoulder. A drop of water landing on stone. All of it is Dharma revealing itself. You sit, doing nothing, and the world keeps turning. It needs no intervention. It doesn't ask for control. And in that simplicity, you realize. Peace was never about conditions. As long as the mind is anchored, anywhere can be a sanctuary. This is no longer meditation to reach a goal. Not to let go. Not to awaken. Not to find answers. This is meditation to simply not do. To stop judging. To stop becoming. To stop trying to be good at it. You're no longer trying to live slowly. You are simply living slowly. Not because it's a technique, but because all inner urgency has quietly fallen away. There is no one left to convince. No one to prove. Just a simplicity that is whole. You may call this meditation, or mindfulness, or presence. But in the deepest truth, it needs no name. It is simply what remains when you no longer interfere. And when you touch that space, you are no longer a practitioner. You are simply yourself, without armor. Without expectations. Without identity. A complete return that needs no announcement. No witness. All the fears that once jolted you awake in the night, that pushed you to search endlessly, they now pass like wisps of smoke. You do not destroy them. You do not conquer them. You simply no longer cling to them. And that is enough. You don't need enlightenment. You don't need an extraordinary experience. You only need to see clearly. Right now, in this very moment, you are alive. And that life, when seen through clear eyes, is quietly breathtaking. It's the moment you realize, without words, everything is already enough. There's nothing to add. Nowhere to go. No one to become. You just sit. With a warm cup of tea. With a gentle breath. With the absence of should and must. And the most beautiful thing, you are still here. Body grounded. Mind bright. Life expanding through every cell. No one sat in your place. No one breathed for you. You, in your full presence, are the greatest miracle of all. There is no longer a need to fix the world. No need to rescue anyone. No need to untangle fate. Because now, you are no longer entangled. You are free, not by escape, but by staying deeply with yourself, with the silence you no longer fear, with the steady rhythm of a heart that is finally, truly alive. And you smile, not for any reason, but simply because you are here. Fully, truly, here. A leaf gently lets go of its branch, drifting softly and landing in silence. Its rustle is like music in the stillness. Everything passes, light as breath. Nothing clings. No emotion stays forever. It's time to stop holding on. Time to release all striving. And in that letting go, something miraculous begins. The heart becomes light, like a cloud drifting across an infinite ocean. No longer a mind that overthinks. No longer a soul that wavers. Only pure presence remains, nameless, formless. A stream of being without intention or conclusion. Not quite joy, not quite sorrow. Just a natural sensation, a state inherent in life, that we often forget amid the complexity of thought. A deep breath is released, not from stress, but simply because breathing happens. No need to know where it began or when it ends. The breath is. It is the beginning, the present, and the end, all within a single moment. Each breath is birth, existence, cessation. A whole lifetime played out in this small body. And the most wondrous thing, when breath is gentle and steady, the mind mirrors it. Tiny inner ripples fade like waves on a still lake. The mind becomes so silent that even the wind howling outside feels like a cool breeze brushing the skin, unable to disturb the inner flow between throat and chest. Impermanence reveals itself in the smallest shifts. Light changes, temperature changes, breath changes, thought changes. All in constant motion. Nothing stands still. Understanding this brings forth a gentle strength. The power of accepted fragility. The power of not resisting impermanence. In that place, there is no controller and no controlled. We might call it complete freedom. And then the heart softens. Not from weakness, but from the wisdom that strength is not always firmness. Rigidity fights, asserts, resists. Softness receives. Understands, accepts. Softness listens. Softness sees deeper. And when the heart softens, it holds all winds and sunlight in its vast embrace. The inner space opens like a boundless ocean. Not narrow. Not full, not empty. Just spacious and unburdened. No state of consciousness can dwell there forever. No emotion holds permanence. They all come to perform, and then they leave. You are no longer the house for them to reside in. You are the space they pass through. Light begins to shine inward. Not the light of intellectual understanding, but an inner illumination, subtle, warm, eternal. This light doesn't glare or shout. It's like the first dewdrop of the season. Gentle, reverent, enough to reveal the tiniest marks on the soul. It lets you see the fragile cracks you've long tried to hide. To see, not to fix. Sitting in that state, you realize. All things in the universe are made of impermanence. Each passing second is a birth and a decay. Every joy, every sorrow, is fleeting. But the thread connecting them is steady. And that is life. To be present in each step, each breath. Each falling speck of dust, each fleeting emotion. Life does not exist in the future. Life is here. Now. You no longer ask, when will I find peace? Because the question itself no longer matters. You discover peace when you stop seeking it. You feel peace when there's nothing to desire. You live in peace when you're no longer bound. Peace is not a goal. Peace is both the beginning and the end. Peace is the space where everything is allowed to be. In that silence, you are no one else. Not me, not you, not them. You are the space within boundless sky. The mind is not too large to contain the world, nor too small to lose itself in it. It rests in the middle. It is the meeting point. No reasoning needed. No debating. Just presence. Sometimes, a single moment of awareness can shift the entire current of your inner world. A spark of recognition can ignite the flame of understanding. A single true breath can make a lifetime whisper, I am here. And I am enough. Subtle, but not fragile. Steady, but not rigid. This is the inner state that every sincere spiritual path points to. Not to rise above others, but to return to oneself. Not to conquer, but to accept. Not to win, but to rest. And so, the silent journey comes to a close. Not to end, but to prepare for a new opening. Not the door of the seeker, but the door of the one who stays. Not of one who attains, but of one who knows they are enough. When you slowly open your eyes, the same old house remains. The same world remains. But you are no longer the same. You have become someone else. Someone still. Someone not swayed by the world. Someone spacious enough to hold everything, without being held. As you step out of meditation, you leave behind a soft trace of energy. The energy of effortless presence. The energy of a mind that does not measure. The energy of peace that needs no condition. Others may not see it, but you feel it. And in the smallest exchanges with the world, a glance, a gesture, a word, you offer that peace. Not because you must, but because you already are. And so, a life may turn, not through grand conquests, but through the quiet strength of one who stays. Stays with themselves. Stays with the unshakable now. Stays with truth that needs no name. Stays with the breath. And lets everything else pass. Like a cloud across the sky. You open your eyes. It's still the same room. The same four walls, the faint birdsong outside the window. The wind gently slipping through the curtains. Everything appears unchanged, just as it was. But you are no longer the same. Something subtle, yet deeply profound, has shifted within you. It wasn't loud. It didn't announce itself. It wasn't dramatic like a turning point in a story. But it was real. It was clear. You've stepped through a doorway, not one that leads out into the world, but one that leads inward, into the silent chambers of your own being. In the last 60 minutes, you didn't move from where you sat. But you've traveled farther than you ever have on foot. You embarked on a journey of return, not toward achievement, not toward goals, but back to yourself. To your breath. To your body. To the gentle unfolding of your emotions and thoughts. To the place you once knew but somehow forgot, the quiet space within you that asks for nothing and gives everything. You didn't come here to acquire or possess anything. You came to release. You let go of nameless anxieties, unfinished plans, hidden expectations that quietly wore you down day by day. Breath by breath, you began to loosen your grip. And in that release, you didn't lose anything. In fact, you rediscovered something vast and simple, clarity. The room is still silent, but the silence within you now has a melody. It's not the silence of emptiness or absence, it's the silence of full presence, rich with life. You may have believed that peace would come when everything finally fell into place. When nothing more needed fixing. When life became easier. But now you see, peace is never in the future. Peace is always here, waiting in the pause, in the letting go. In the willingness to be exactly where you are without trying to escape. Peace is not a reward. It is not a prize to earn. It is your natural state, the ground you stand on, even when you forget it. For so long, you lived as if something out there needed to happen before you could feel whole. But today, in this quiet hour, you touched something sacred. And it didn't come from outside. It was already within you. You feel the shift, not in your thoughts, but in a deeper sense of knowing. Like gentle water soaking into dry earth. You didn't force yourself to calm down. It happened. You didn't analyze self-love. But compassion began to rise, spreading from your heart through your whole being. You didn't try to let go. But your hands slowly opened. And the things you thought you couldn't release, drifted away. Not because of effort, but because you created the conditions for healing. Stillness. Presence. Openness. You sat not to achieve enlightenment, not to reach some mystical state, but simply to live this moment with honesty and tenderness. For years, perhaps, you've moved through life with urgency. Carrying the weight of goals, identities, and expectations. But here, in this one quiet space of presence, you encountered another side of life, the softer side. The one that waits patiently beneath all the noise. You didn't need to leave the world behind. You didn't need to change everything. You only needed to stop running. And in your stillness, life opened its arms. Your mind didn't need to be perfectly silent. It didn't need to be pure. You only needed to stay. To stay long enough to hear the small voice inside, the one that's been whispering all along beneath the chaos. Now, as you look around the same old room, something is undeniably different. You are not the person who entered it an hour ago. You are new, not because something added to you, but because something untrue has fallen away. You're no longer defined by the roles you play or the ideas you've clung to. You are simply yourself, unembellished, unedited, and whole. You realize you don't have to do anything grand to keep this peace. You only have to remember that it exists within you. Carry this breath into your steps. Let presence guide your small actions. Let this memory of stillness become your quiet anchor in the stormy seas of life. You now understand, the deepest transformations don't come from changing the world. They come from touching the depths of your own being. Not knowledge, not success, not even healing can substitute for the raw, luminous clarity of presence. Just one moment of truly being with yourself can unravel years of forgetting. One breath of true awareness can change the entire direction of your inner world. You don't have to seek awakening in distant places. You don't have to wait for peace. You don't need permission to rest. You are already home. Always have been. And today, you simply came back. Back to the gentle, vulnerable, truthful space within. Back to the most intimate part of life that cannot be named or owned, only experienced. As you rise from this seat, you are not carrying achievements. You carry something more subtle, more enduring, a quiet knowing. A trust. A warmth that glows beneath the surface. Others may not notice it. They may not see the difference. But you know. You feel it in your breath, your gaze, your steps. In the way your body moves with ease. In the way your heart listens instead of rushing to respond. The world out there may not have changed. But something within you has. And that inner shift is not small. It is everything. It's the place where you stop needing to fight. Stop needing to prove. Stop needing to chase. And begin to live, gently, fully, honestly. You are no longer the seeker. You are the space. You are not the effort. You are the resting. Not the voice shouting for meaning. You are the silence that hears it all. This is the beginning of a different kind of journey, one that doesn't strive upward, but softens inward. Not to rise above others, but to meet yourself exactly as you are. Not to conquer, but to receive. Not to run, but to stay. And this journey of stillness, it doesn't end here. It only begins again and again. In every breath you take, every moment you return. The door you entered was never locked. And now you know how to return. You are not the same. And you don't need to explain that to anyone. Because true change doesn't shout. It radiates. Quietly. Steadily. Gently. Through the way you now exist in the world, not as a storm, but as a soft presence. Not as someone seeking peace. But as someone who is peace. This is how a life changes. Not through grand revolutions, but through the quiet, steady power of one who learns to stay. Stay with the breath. Stay with the moment. Stay with the sacred now. Stay with yourself. And from that place, everything else will unfold. If what you just experienced has touched something deep within you. If the silence spoke louder than words. If a single breath brought you closer to something true. Then know this, you are not alone. You are walking a path. Not a path to somewhere, but a path back. Back to yourself. Back to truth. Back to the simple knowing that somehow got lost in the noise. That you are already enough. Exactly as you are. Right now. And if something in this video made you feel that it's okay to stop. Okay to soften. Okay to breathe a little deeper. Then perhaps this isn't just a coincidence. Perhaps it is a quiet meeting. A subtle remembering. The Dharma Journey isn't just a YouTube channel. It's a resting place. A pause in a fast world. A space where people who are searching for presence, for peace, for truth, quietly cross paths. Here, you won't be asked to change. You won't be pushed to be better, faster, or more. You will simply be reminded. That awakening doesn't come from striving. That peace doesn't wait at the end of the road. It is right here, in the breath you are taking. In the moment you are living. In the life you are already holding. Each video on the Dharma Journey is an invitation. An invitation to slow down. An invitation to listen to what your body is gently saying. An invitation to release what has quietly been weighing you down. An invitation to come home to your own stillness. Subscribing to this channel is not just a click. It is a soft commitment to yourself. A small vow to stay present, to stay real, to stay gentle. A reminder, in the chaos of everyday life, that you can return. Every time you tap the bell. It isn't just for notifications. It's a bell of remembrance. That you are on a path of awakening. That even when you forget, you can begin again. That presence is always waiting for you to come back. We are here, not to teach you what you don't know. But to remind you of what you've always known, deep down. We are here, not to inspire you. But to help you stay close to the fire already burning inside you. The quiet fire of awareness, of compassion, of being. We are here, not to pull you away from life. But to help you return to it, more deeply, more honestly, more fully. And on the days when you feel lost. When the world feels too heavy. When your mind pulls you in 100 directions. Come back here. No need for explanations. No need to say anything. Just sit. Press play. Close your eyes. And breathe with us. The Dharma Journey will still be here. Unchanging. Unhurried. Unjudging. Like a quiet companion waiting at the door. Like a shelter that welcomes you just as you are. Like a soft whisper saying, "You're doing just fine. You don't need to try so hard. Just breathe. Just be." Because somewhere deep within you, there is a still space, untouched, unbroken, always whole. And the journey back to it isn't far. It begins with a breath. A moment. A willingness to remember. So, if something in you feels aligned, if your heart said yes in a quiet way, then subscribe to the Dharma Journey. Not to follow content, but to follow your own path. To stay close to what is sacred in your everyday life. Let each video be a gentle reminder that you have permission to slow down. That you deserve peace, not later, but now. That there's nothing to fix. And that you always have a home to return to. Right here, inside yourself. We don't promise to make you better. But we can walk with you as you become more real. More grounded. More whole. No noise. No pressure. Just breath. And the courage to stay.